Hello, welcome to One Moment Wiser. This is Christy Bridges, and I have been doing a series of interviews about a book that I am really excited about. My friend Premadonna Braddick has gathered together different ladies who she has counseled through the years or who've taken part in her teen summit, and they have shared their stories with real vulnerability. And they all have been through some really difficult circumstances, but have turned their focus to God and allowed God to let them rise above their circumstances in ways that, well, I think we could all be inspired by. So I wanted to introduce a couple more of those authors today. We have Premadonna Braddick, who you've met in previous interviews. She is the mastermind, the visionary behind the Cards of Life, Finding Your Winning Hand. This is my own special copy, but you can get your copy already online. And if you want, you can come to the book launch party that we'll be talking about in a minute. I'm not giving away all Premadonna's details. Premadonna, thank you so much for bringing to us Janaea and Naomee today. We are so excited to keep getting to meet these remarkable women that you've been keeping to yourself. So can you
Yes,
tell
they
us?
are. Go ahead.
No, that's fine. Can you tell us a little bit about how this got started?
Yeah, it got started just my life in itself. As I stated before, I had such a hard hand, a bad hand that was dealt to me. And the whole idea of Cards of Life, as I illustrate in the book, was an idea came from a game that I enjoyed playing. That was probably the only card game I know how to play, and that's Uno. And I used to play that all the time not in college, in middle school, 7th grade, in 8th grade. And I was the champ. I was the champ in Uno. And there was this one, she was older. I was in 7th and she was in 8th. And I changed her name around in the book. But I talk about how she was feeling some type of way about me winning all the time. So she said, let me deal the cards. And so I'm thinking, looking at her like, what? Okay, whatever. You think I'm cheating? Whatever. And she dealt the cards. And needless to say, she gave me a bad hand. Mm-hmm. And I'm sitting here thinking like, what? And I looked at her and blurted out and said, you cheated. Like, you just straight up cheated. Like, you self-threatened by me winning, that you just had to give me a bad hand to position yourself to win. Mm-hmm. And she's like, what you talking about? What, you think you can't win? And I'm thinking to myself, of course I can't win with this crappy hand. Like, who can win with this? And so, and I won't steal the thunder. You guys figure out what happens next in the book, in the story. So I encourage you to purchase a book. Amazon, it's on there for $20. And we also have it on Kindle for $40. But yeah, find out what happened after she gave me a bad hand. But so I took that analogy and just placed it in my life, in how, again, growing up in the foster care system, dealt a bad hand. And despite of all the word curses, I like to call them, that was said to me, especially by my foster mother, I'm not going to be nothing. I have a speech impairment, learning disability, you're not going to finish high school. There's just a lot of can't, you're not. And I just wanted to prove her wrong. And was on a track team. I played the piano. I was just the most busiest girl, a teenage girl. I was a dancer, track team, drama, journalism. Like, my hands was always in something. Then on the weekends I worked. And I don't know if that was completely healthy, but for me, I just wanted to show her, no, I'm not going to accept the words that she's given me. And so for me, I was, of course, able to finish high school and got not one, but 3 degrees, college degrees. I finished honors in Oral Roberts universities with a double master's degree. But what I've learned as I mentor teen girls and young adult ladies who I adore and love, that they too may be dealt a bad hand, whether it's starting a business or just whatever it may be, you know, schoolwork, friendship, relationships, whatever. You could be dealt a bad hand in any time of your life. And this is one thing I love about this book. I made sure I handpicked co-authors who has different stories and basically can represent our world. I didn't want to have everybody have the same story. I'm so appreciative that the twins came on. They're just a dynamic team who doesn't stop at anything. And to be so young and have the entrepreneurial mindset. You know what they said? Who says that you have to start your own business in your 20s or 30s? Like, yeah, we teenagers and we may not know everything and we may have a bad hand dealt to us because we made the wrong business decision. But guess what? We're going to find our winning hand. And once we find it, we're going to show you guys how to do it too. And they started so young. And these entrepreneurial mindset teenagers, they can encourage other young teenagers too. And then Janaea, she just has an extraordinary story herself. Been working with her since she was 12 years old, and incredibly smart, incredibly intelligent. But just reading her story, I'm sitting here like, oh my gosh. But she just held it very, very strong. And what I've learned just from her story is that mentorship's presence is very important. Even if it looks like on the outside, everything looks great and wonderful, you know what? That doesn't always seem like, you know, I was reading somewhere where she was dealing with a whole lot, but because she was a straight A student, because she did everything right, no one thought anything was going on. But guess what? Janaea was that straight A student. Janaea, you know, never got into trouble. Janaea, she was just a stellar student. I would say stellar teenager, one would say. But when you read her story, it's something totally different. And what really touched my heart with her is that she said, Premadonna, you continue to show up. And that's what mattered, you know. And that taught me that, you know what, let us not forget about the strong. The strong needs people too. And she was that strong person, but she still needed that mentorship or just somebody's presence. And I'm so glad that God brought me in her life to be that person present. She'll call me, pick me up, Miss Pre. All right, I'll pick her up. It'll be silence. But you know what? She said, just because you were there, that's all that mattered to me. So I'm going to let them have it, Naomee and Janaea. I've said a whole lot.
I love it. You know, what I've caught from this is that, and you don't have to tell me even, I can see it in the things that the authors say about you and in the things that other people notice about you, is that that willingness to just be present. You don't have to force people to like you or try to, you know, show off or run the show. You just are there.
Right.
And you've, because of that, people who repeatedly in this book, I've read, you know, girls say they didn't want to talk to anybody about what they were going through, or, you know, they push people away because they had been so hurt and rejected. But you just being there, you know, over time, people started to talk, and it's worth pushing past the awkwardness. So I appreciate that you've done that.
Right.
I do. Janaea,
thank you.
Your story, I just, I've got to say, and you are not, you know, you're not what you've been through, right? We are not our scars, but reading your story after, you know, 4 or 5 times of reading it, it still just makes me cry at points, because it brings to mind things that I do wrong, things that that I know in general people people don't realize that we honestly have to be woken up to how our callousness and self-centeredness affects others. And so would you just tell me a little bit about what you've been through, about where you were and where you are now. Oh, except that I've got you muted. I muted everybody to avoid the echo, so let me try this again. You're so patient. You're just like, yep, I sure will.
Well, I started my story off when I was 14 because I guess that's where it hit hard the most. But I've been like pretty much feeling that way since I was 12. And yeah, I mean, I've always had good grades. School was never a problem for me, but like real life stuff was just not it. And yeah, I was just burying myself into studying and reading. And so nobody thought anything was wrong with me. No one could see that I needed help. And I was afraid to reach out because, I mean, I didn't know how to explain how I was feeling.
Yeah.
So whenever I would be reading, like I read a lot of young adult novels.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, like they made me feel like that there were people like me around, because a lot of the books I was reading was about depression and bipolar, all like mental illness type stuff. And that's what made me want to be a psychologist, because I wanted to learn more about why I was feeling this way. And yeah, I was in a really dark time, especially my freshman year. And then whenever I had to move with my dad, and I talked about that in the book, but it didn't get any better, especially with the living situation I was in. Life just wasn't happy. Like I didn't feel happy for a long time. And then when quarantine started was just like a breaking point, and I did not leave my room for like 4 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And at that point, at least you had a room.
Yeah, at least I had a room.
But I get the feeling as I read your story, I get the feeling that because the people around you were dealing with their own issues and you seemed okay, your performance was okay, they just made you feel a little bit like an extra.
Yeah.
And, an interruption. And sometimes when we feel that way, we feel like nobody cares what we think anyway, we stop listening to ourselves and say, well, doesn't matter, because we feel powerless. But there's this person inside of us that desperately wants at least us to be their friend. This person who says, hey, I'm here and my feelings do matter. And I wonder if quieting that voice and choosing to say it doesn't matter, if that helped make the depression worse. What do you think about that?
I feel like it made it worse in the long run, of course, because once the pandemic started, it felt like everything rushed back to where it was. Like everything came to mind, because I was at home by myself most of the time because my dad had to work.
Yeah.
So it was like it builds up. It doesn't just go away because you act like it's not there anymore.
Yeah. How did you start to, I know that you kind of got real excited about moving forward in your life, that time of living with these people who treated you like excess was nearing an end. And so that's a little exciting, and I'll let people read the story, but inside of you, what has changed? What helps you now to not let it build up, like you said, to not let it, you keep it crammed behind a door until the door starts to burst open?
I would definitely say because I wrote it out already.
Yeah.
Because actually I've never told this story before, not to anyone in my life. So writing it out has definitely helped me. And so I guess that's what I would advise for anyone who's going through anything similar, is to at least write it out and have at least one person read it.
Yeah.
Because then you'll actually have someone to talk to. Because
Yeah.
if you don't have no one to talk to about it, it's just gonna build up. Even if you pretend that it's not there, it's gonna build up.
Yeah. And those people who took the time to write the novels that you read ministered to you somehow, because you didn't feel so alone during those times. And yes, I absolutely believe God makes us with a natural instinct that says, I need to connect with human beings. Even if we don't want to, even if it's awkward or inconvenient, there's a part of us that just desperately needs to connect with human beings. But, you know, in lack of that, right, those books, actually somebody behind those books wrote down what they had experienced in, you know, novel form, and that ministered to you. And now you've written down what you've experienced so that somebody else can say, oh, I'm not alone, and it doesn't have to last forever, and I'm here for a reason.
Right.
I'm so grateful that you did that. I am so grateful. You just, and your dimples just make the whole room shine, by the way. They totally do. But you're just so, I don't know, there's something very powerful in a story that doesn't have to involve, you know, horrible things being done to you, just the general lack of concern and lack of, you know, attention and like being shoved off to the side. We, as adults, especially the, you know, people who are watching and listening to this, a lot of them are adults, and we get so caught up in our own problems or tasks or goals that we tend to, you know, once our kid or somebody in our life gets somewhat independent, where they don't need us as much, we shift our focus and get into our own little worlds. My husband and I did that with each other. He, you know, would always watch TV, and I was always wanting to do other things. And we got to a point in our marriage where we were each just living our own lives, coming home to the same house and kind of getting on each other's nerves. And it's a very lonely time that almost split us up. And today, because we've intentionally made a point to be curious about one another and to share times that both of us can somewhat enjoy, even though it takes effort, he's like my favorite place to be now. And I wanted really badly to share your story, because I want everybody to hear this, that you don't have to be mean to someone to make them feel like their life isn't worthwhile. And you just have to ignore them. And that's not right. So we have to intentionally do differently, do what Jesus did. And you today are in charge of your life. You actually are obviously not nearly as awkward as you felt in school when people would talk to you, because you're open and talking, and I appreciate that. So you you graduated last year, 2020? Yeah. Awesome. So is this year a little bit better for you now?
I guess in terms of mentally, sure.
Yeah.
I would say it is better for me.
Wonderful.
But financially, no.
Those first few years of being an adult. Gotcha. So what are you up to lately?
Working and filing as independent on FAFSA.
Awesome. So you're able to do that now so that you can get those grants. Man. All right. So if anybody is wondering some of the things, you know, why I'm asking some of these questions, you've got to read this book. But I'm excited for you. And you know what? I'm just so glad that you stuck around, and I'm so glad that you allowed Premadonna to be that friend, even if you didn't have a lot to say. Just knowing that someone's there in your corner got you through that, and that took effort to reach out. And I'm glad you did, because you are going to be such a blessing as the more you listen to that person in you, when that person is not feeling right, and the more you share what you're going through, you're going to develop this voice that is going to meet so many needs out there. And I think I could just see people being drawn to that. So thank you.
No problem.
Good luck. I'm doing all the talking, so you can talk if you want. Say, Christy, zip it. I'm like such a fangirl. Naomee, you and your sister, you're twins? And are you on mute? I left you on mute. I'm going to get better at this, I promise. Not like I haven't been doing this for a year or two. All right. So Naomee, you and your twin sister, tell us a little bit about your story.
Our story is a little bit about entrepreneurship and just going out there on your own when you're young and just believing in yourself enough to, step out there and do what you believe in. So
Awesome. And you actually, okay, this totally kind of made me smile because it's so different today than how I grew up. But you taught yourselves how to do flips and things by watching videos online. And as you got older and started developing your business, you learned a lot by watching videos online and reading articles. And I know a lot of kids who spend all their time online but aren't actually doing anything with it. What makes the difference? What do you think?
just especially when you're not an adult and you don't already have that knowledge, or you haven't been in college, and you don't have those people in your life to just tell you all the things that you need to know right then and there. Google is your friend. It is your school, and it is the person that will tell you things. So just doing that deep research on the things that we need to know to make sure that we're not making the wrong moves, to see how everybody else did it, what wrongs that they had while they were doing it, seeing how did they get on the right track and make sure they were making the right decisions. So just basically comparing right and wrong, and finding our own way in between all that. So
Smart. So you're watching people, and where some people compare themselves with others as far as a self-judgment, right? I'm successful or I'm not successful, I'm a winner or I'm a loser. You're actually looking at what did they do? What do they do wrong that we want to avoid? And what are they doing right that we want to imitate? Oh, that's useful. But you actually have gone a step further and implemented this stuff. You came up with your own logo for your business. You came up with business plans. That is, that's beyond what a lot of people do. A lot of people stop with just a dream. And you have a quote that I love. It says, "We don't believe in excuses. While you're making the excuse, somebody else is getting it done. But you're the people that are getting it done." I think that's really cool. So you aren't, your schedule is not like most teenagers where you sleep to the last minute, race out the door and, get to school and then you spend all your evening time just hanging out. What is your day like?
Waking up, since school is kind of over and kind of done with all my classes, I've been kind of slipping when I wake up, but usually it's around 5 in the morning, praying, doing a little workout in my room, or if not a workout, just literally just putting on worship music and being in the moment for that day, thanking God for the day. And then I just do all the daily routine that I have, get everything done that I have for the day, because getting things done early on in the day is really helpful. So not constantly procrastinating. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When you feel a little overwhelmed by something, maybe you've set a goal for yourself or you've got something new that you have to figure out how to do, um, how do you deal with that? Do you ever have that? I mean, I don't know. I'm assuming that you feel like the rest of us, but do you ever have that feeling of like, I don't even know where to start?
Yes. I usually talk to a friend, my mom, try to bounce ideas off. Because usually if I'm feeling overwhelmed, then that's when the anxiety starts to creep in.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of just need that reassurance from somebody that cares about me and is around me constantly.
Nice. Someone who believes in you. And your mom, I tell you what, you said you learned a lot of your entrepreneurial stuff from her. So that's kind of nice to have someone who knows a little bit living in your house, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Did you grow up watching her be an entrepreneur? Is that what got you inspired?
She's actually not an entrepreneur. um, I
She
think
just
just
knows
watching
stuff.
her go to
Yeah.
do online. Yeah, she just knows stuff. Watching her do online school, she has associates, bachelor's, masters. She was going to pursue her doctorate at one point. So seeing her get all those degrees while having twins to look after, mostly on her own because my dad had worked out of town and still works out of town, um, is amazing. I still don't know how she did it, but she managed to do it, and she's amazing for that. So
Awesome. So she's a little bit inspiring. Can you tell me what were some
yes.
of the first, when you decided that you wanted to be an entrepreneur, what were some of the first ideas that you two had that you maybe didn't end up using or that went a different direction from? We want to know, like, that our ideas aren't as crazy as we think they are, I think.
It was actually the summer before COVID,
Mm-hmm.
and actually the idea was between me and a friend, and I got it's so crazy how we got the name for the business because I was actually in my friend's car, and I threw out this name, and she was like, "How about you spell it like this?" And I'm gonna go ahead and say it is True Athlete.
Awesome.
Instead of saying it TRUE, she said do it TRU, True Athlete. I'm just like, okay, that kind of sticks. So then I brought it to my sister, and she was just like, yeah, let's try to figure out some things. We bounced ideas off of each other. We compared our situations, the sports we do. So and some ideas that we didn't use. Honestly, it was a lot, but we just kind of stayed true to ourselves in that process. And the things that we didn't use, we just kind of had to pray about it and let God lead us on the things that we should use. So
Nice. I've found for myself when I start to get inspired, I'm like uber inspired. And so there's a million ideas that come out, and I'm like, I don't have enough lifetimes for all of this. My mom's the same way. So you're right. Praying about it and saying, Lord, which one do you want me to implement? What do you want me to do? Even in the direction of True Athlete, you didn't, you can't just jump all in and do everything at once. You start one step at a time, and you talked about that in your story. It's so wise. I appreciate that. So you just graduated this weekend. That's so awesome.
yes.
And so are you both going to kind of go in the same direction, or are you and your sister going in different directions? You're going to just keep going with this business and see where it takes you? What are you planning?
Obviously the business is still going to keep going. We're both planning on going to the military. So we're trying to get that solidified right now. We're supposed to be leaving here soon, really soon.
Ooh.
We're both going into the medical field. She's going to become an anesthesiologist, and I'm going to become a sports medicine doctor. It's something that's really close to our hearts and that we have seen up very closely. So taking this journey, there's no going back. Once we get into medical school, there's no giving up. There might be some tears, some hard days, but we're gonna go all the way till we finish this. And through all that, we're gonna have our business. Hopefully, turn it into a brand because we want to reach everybody. So that's our plans.
That's awesome. So you're about to go into the military. What branch?
So haven't decided yet. We really wanted to go to the Air Force, but God might be calling us to another branch. So we'll find out here soon, though. So
cool.
Yeah.
But you already know you're both going into medicine and two different branches that kind of complement each other, which is really cool. And the sports medicine is going to actually just continue to help your brand. So you, True Athlete, what is it? Tell our audience what True Athlete is for.
True Athlete is for all the people that think they're not athletes. I think this idea really, really originated just from our coach, from our high school track. I think there's a quote in there. We quoted him in our book. I think every adult, no matter what age, how old you are, what you look like, no matter your background, everybody can be an athlete if they can put the work in.
Yeah.
And just to have it become a true lifestyle is something pretty amazing. So True Athlete is actually a clothing brand, and it makes you feel all those things. And hopefully we can turn this into a brand and just have different sports come together and just be able to do different things. So there's a lot of inspiration and a lot of ideas for the future. So we're really excited.
I am really excited for you. Just the process of developing a business is something you can use over and over again throughout life. So that's a really neat thing. And I love that it aligns so well with the other things in your life that you're passionate about. Now, I have a question because, and I want all of us to talk about this because we all have internal dialogue. And so we all have this internal dialogue. And I know that when I am trying to achieve something or I'm setting goals and it gets to be, the end of the day and I haven't done everything I wanted to do, or maybe I just had a day where I didn't feel like doing anything and I barely got anything done. I get to the end of the day and I can be pretty hard on myself. And I had to learn to shift my self-talk. And I still, sometimes have to go, what? Where's that coming from? But I had to learn intentionally to change my self-talk and congratulate myself on what I have done and continue, moving forward instead of dwelling in that mire. Have either of you ladies ever had to deal with that negative self-talk? What about you, Naomee? Go ahead and start us out. How do you address that? How do you, if you have that at all, or maybe with you and the twin, I don't know how your dynamic works, but how do you confront that when you start to think, I'm not doing good enough?
Writing it down to get it out. Because sometimes that could be the reality. So writing it down, but then going back and saying, okay, I did this one thing today. It just adds on to everything else. And even though I didn't feel like I didn't do that much, I still grew in a way, or I still kind of moved forward in a positive way so that going into the next day, hey, I did something yesterday that influenced me today. So now I can just keep going and know that, hey, I didn't waste yesterday because I actually did do something.
Right. I like that. So even if it's just like a few minutes worth of something, you did something. And there are days when you just kind of need rest. And I've found that if I just do 5 minutes of something towards my goal, something that makes me feel good about myself, then I can hold that up as my trophy for the day and say, you know what, I took rest because my brain needed creative space or because I needed family time, whatever it was, but I got this done. So that's a good way of doing it. Jeanette, what about you when you deal with those internal thoughts that tell you that you're not good enough? What do you say to them? How do you deal with that?
I would say I have a hard time dealing with them. Like I don't really have anything that's a go-to that I do whenever I do have those thoughts. But starting off, I would usually go to sleep. Like I was taking like 4-hour naps a day because I didn't know what to do. But reading books, reading and probably cleaning my room was best to clear my mind of things like that.
Yeah. You know, when I wrote my first devotional book, Wisdom Better Than Wishing, I would find myself in bed all day Saturday instead of writing on the one day that I had off work that I could write because of, you know, that internal critic just telling me, you know, wasn't enough or loneliness too, a little bit of that. And I would lie in bed and sometimes I would manage to sleep and other times I would just lie there. You know, if I did sleep, I was having stress dreams. And when I was awake, I would be mad at myself. God has shown me since then, number one, better ways to deal with that. But although I still take a lot of naps, but they're like 15 minutes now, but just brain reboots. God has shown me other ways of working on things and doing things that keep me motivated, like doing them with other people or getting an exercise break every, you know, 45 minutes or something. Different little things that help me not to drain myself with pressure. So I'm looking forward to seeing how you, yeah, how, because we're different, right? I'm looking forward to seeing how you continue to address those things. Now you started reaching out and saying, hey, I need a friend. And then you started writing your stuff. And so I'm looking forward to seeing how this develops of you. That's cool. Premadonna, what do you do?
When I have negative thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
is that what you're asking?
Yeah, when you have that internal
Okay.
critic start up, what do you do?
I listen to a lot of gospel music. That has been my medicine to my soul. When those negative critics come in and they just try to bombard my mind, it's been a medicine for my spirit ever since I was their age, since I was a teenager, and that's my go-to. It's that private time I have with God, and I just start playing one song after the next. I remember it's an old school song. It's not telling my age, but it's the one song I love was Change by Tremaine Hawkins. I mean, that song when I was little growing up, OMG. I mean, I still play it now. It's just, it man, you know, it just brings electricity throughout my body and say, yeah, it talks about changing your mind. I know I've been changed. And there's just other songs. I think, I don't know, is it, I'll probably be messing up her name. Another one is breaking everything or breakthrough or something like that. I don't know if it's Tasha Cobb's one of those, but I just gospel music is my go-to, and I just play on repeat, repeat, repeat. That's what helps me get
Tasha
those
Cobbs
negative
is
thoughts out of my
fabulous.
mind.
You know, it's hard to.
I don't know if it's Tasha.
No? Who do you think it is? Well, we can look it up too. In fact, Change by Jermaine Hawkins.
I know Change Tremaine Hawkins for sure. You know,
All right.
they even sang that song at the something the ball with Oprah Winfrey. The
Okay.
it was years ago. I don't know if you remember, they had, you know, the big folks there. They had Maya Angelou there. They had, you know, Leontine Price is a opera singer. They had, I forgot what it was called, something the ball. But let me tell you, they even played that song there. They had Maria Shriver there. And
Awesome.
they had everybody in tears. Tyler Perry was there. Everybody was in tears. Janet Jackson. I mean, that song does not ever get old. It was written by the Walter Hawkins.
Mm-hmm.
And man, when they played that, Oprah was in tears. Gayle King was in tears, and that song is old. I mean, I think it was written before I was born, but they had a different rendition to it. And they were at I forget the name of the ball, but it was Oprah Winfrey. And I tell you, Dionne Warwick was singing it. Patti LaBelle.
Wow. I cannot wait to hear this
Girls,
song.
y'all need to listen to Change. Go to Oprah Winfrey. It's something with ball. And I'm gonna look it up right now. But I'm telling you, girls, go to that song. Man.
You know, it is hard
Go ahead, I'm
to
sorry.
let negative thoughts take over when you've got a song going through your head that says the truth, you know, that speaks the truth.
Mhm.
And sometimes, you know, just singing at the top of my lungs, I'll turn up, you know, Mandisa or something, and I'm, you know, I don't know, I like Mandisa, but
It was the Legends Ball. It was the
Legends
Legends
Ball.
Ball in 2005. Yes, and see that song was written actually, and I wasn't born in the 70s, but you know they had a rendition, but they played that, they sang that song in 2005 at the Legends Ball. Shaka
Oh,
Khan was there, everybody
fantastic.
was
I've got the
there.
link. I'm
Yeah,
going to
they
post it
sang
now.
Change. You listen to the one from the Legends Ball with Oprah Winfrey, Tina Turner.
Ooh, okay.
They tore the house up. Everybody, it was not a dry tear, dry eye. Sorry.
I can't wait to hear that. Thank you. You know, I think we all need a good playlist. When I first started listening to Christian music, it was weird because you know, there's a different feeling with Christian music than there is with the stuff that I grew up listening to, the stuff that I, you know, listened to in high school that was all about broken relationships and cheating on people and, you know, trying to hook up. And then Christian music just had this like clean feeling, which just didn't feel normal. But there was this one singer that I started listening to, and I'm kind of a rock girl, and it was Margaret Becker. But um, there was something about her music felt a little more like what I liked, and her words changed my whole desire to listen to the other music. I just the other stuff didn't mean the same thing anymore. And that began my road of changing what I listen to, because there's a truth and a power in songs about, you know, who we are eternally, and songs about how God feels about us, and songs about who he is. There's a truth and a power there. Whereas so much of the popular music is just stuff that leads to brokenness, stuff that
Right.
kind of glorifies and drags out misery. And so that's excellent. Thank you for mentioning that.
Yes.
Well, ladies, I am just so grateful for this book, and I'm so grateful for you being here. And I want to give Premadonna, I want to give you a chance to talk about what's coming up, because I can't wait, and I already have a friend to come with me. So tell us about June 4th.
Yes. Yes, the girls will finally be able to showcase their talents, who they are, get the book signed from the co-author. So we're excited about having the book launch June 4th at the downtown Holiday Inn, Tulsa. It will be from 5:30 to 8:30. We'll have light hors d'oeuvres. a panel discussion. Just even those who are interested to be part of volume 2. Yes, we're going to have a volume 2 addition to this, because this is volume 1. We'll talk about that. And then again, you guys will have up close personal conversations with the co-authors, questions you may ask, you may have for the co-authors, again, their signatures. And it's just a good time to get together. I'm excited about it. This is our first book launch and book signing. And yeah, and you'll be able to buy the books from the ladies there. They'll have their books. So, and for those, we have some ladies who weren't able to buy their books yet, but what we're doing is you can always take a pre-order. So you have family. We've been saying that if you know a co-author and you want to support them, you can still come and just they'll do a pre-order, and you can pay your money to that co-author and they'll order your book. So there's no reason for you not to come. We definitely want to see you there to support this event. Soaring Eagles is one of the sponsors. Drink to Shrink, Transformation Church, Cove. Cove is another sponsor. And then we have Proverbs 31, that's run by Glenda Porter. She's a sponsor as well. So we are thankful to our sponsors to help us put this event on. Again, my nonprofit, Soaring Eagles. Please come out, mingle with us, get to know the co-authors, and just see what Soaring Eagles is doing, what we're doing in the community for teens and young adults and even families. We believe in working with the whole family, not just one part of the family, but the whole family, and to see the things we're going to be doing in the future. But come on out June 4th at the Holiday Inn from 5:30 to 8:30.
Thank you so much. And you
just said
something that caught my attention, and I don't want to hang up without saying this. You do work with the whole family, and you do work with the parents who may have, neglected their kids or caused their kids to feel rejected, or parents who just outright hurt their children. If you had something to say to a parent anywhere, or someone who wants to be a parent and is wanting to do it right, what would you say to those parents? What do you think the most important thing is that we can do?
And listen to your children. Patience and listen to. Did you hear me?
I did.
Hello?
Patience and listening to your children.
Patience, did you hear me?
Yep, I heard you. Can you hear me? Oh, okay, yeah. Patience and listening to your children.
Yeah, I hear you. It was going in and out.
Gotcha.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are the two things. It's just the patience and listening to them. There's something I do with my son. I asked him one time, and I know this may be odd for a parent, but I asked him, I said, am I missing anything? Am I parenting right? I did ask him, because I didn't want him to ever feel like I'm missing out on anything, because as parents, I get it. You're busy. I'm always moving. I'm writing. I have, multiple jobs I'm doing. And sometimes kids can kind of feel left out. And I asked him, I said, have I missed anything with you? Are you feeling ignored? Is there something I need to improve on? And he's just like, no. I said, is there anything that you like to do together? And he's like, well, you already watched the Avengers with me. Like, that's his favorite movies, like all the Avengers. And I like Avengers too. Yeah. So that's like our time together. And then I said, hey, well, listen, if I'm not doing something right, if I miss something, please let me know. Mommy's not going to get upset. If I don't know this, I can't correct this. This doesn't take away control or power, but this is what you're saying, is that you want your child to have a voice. You want your child to know that you're listening and that you're present, because I am guilty. I can get so caught up in my work and whatever. And, because my son is self-sufficient, he'll be all right. He can make himself a sandwich. But, sometimes they just need your presence there to sit with them or just do whatever. And I had that conversation, and I said, well, if I missed a cue or whatever, please let mommy know so I can make it right. He's like, okay. So that's just my tidbit advice on that as a parent who, like me, is an entrepreneur, an author, and running a nonprofit. It does a lot, but it doesn't take a lot to stop and check in. We have a check. Matter of fact, we do we'll do check-ins, and the check-ins is basically is tell us your highs, tell us your lows, and tell us what we need to improve. We have the check-ins because if not, I'm not going to know what's going on.
Smart. What do you do, or I guess what advice would you have for someone who needs to change the conversational dynamic? If someone, sometimes we can get to where everybody's on the defense because we're not used to feedback and we feel like we're doing it right. And so we kind of get to where, if you're speaking, it's nagging, and if you're listening, you get defensive. Kids and parents, what kind of thing would change that and actually make it, restore that relationship?
Yeah, it's amazing that you asked that question. I just had that thought today. I said, we as a human beings need to stop listening with a defensive ear. I literally just said that today. I said, if we delineate the defensive ear, then we can actually hear exactly what that person is saying. Because we are already listening with a defensive ear, everything is distorted. Mm-hmm. Let's remove the defensive ear and have more of a, I'm losing my train of thought, but an open mind. Yeah. And being more, just having an open mind. Yeah, I literally just said that today. Objective, being more objective. There's the word, to have more of an objective ear. Dismiss the defensive ear with more of an objective ear. Because when you have an objective ear, that person who is delivering the message to you feels safe and feels like you're listening to them. And I had another interview and with a good friend of yours, Sarah.
Oh, yes.
And one of the girls I've worked with, known her since she was a little kid too. She's 18 now. And the first thing she said to me was, Ms. Premadonna, we need to talk. I need to talk. You used to be my counselor and my mentor, so I need to talk. I was like, okay. And she's like, I have sex. And my boyfriend's not having sex with me. It's just like, okay. Yeah, I needed a disclaimer first. I was like, whoa, I've literally, she felt that safe to talk to me. I hadn't talked to her in a while. And the first thing she was talking to me was, my boyfriend's not having sex and I need it. I'm like, okay, hold up. But we continue to talk, because the girls felt safe to talk to me because I don't have a defensive ear. I'm objective. And I'm like, okay, let's talk this through. And so we talked it through. And do I agree with the decisions that she make? No, I don't. It's not even about that. It's about that they just want to know they have somebody safe to talk to. And I really wholeheartedly hold that scripture, let your light shine before men so they can see your good work. When we're talking about light, what does light mean? Light illuminates what's dark. And many times there's young people or families that come across my path or part of my program, and they're in a dark place. And I'm that light, but I'm basically with the light of being objective, not a defensive ear, and just listening. And because I am modeling understanding and love, they soon start modeling the same and start changing without my even having to say anything. And that to me is more of a message to the young people of why they've gravitated to me. And someone was just asking me, I don't know who was asking me this about how long I've worked with, young people. I said, to be honest with you, I didn't know I had to give. I was like 16 years old and I had little kids always wanting to be around me. And I had this little girl tell me, she had to have been around 6 years old or 7. She's like, could you be my godmommy? And I'm like,
Oh,
okay, I don't know what that is or what but my light, she really liked my energy to where, she wanted me to be her godmother and she wanted to be up underneath me. So I've always had that, been a magnet to young people they just want to sit and talk. So I would say, let's remove the defensive ear. And that's how we could, help a lot of the young people to be open.
that is so important. And it's funny because you said something that reminded me of something God was telling me this morning. And it's actually something that a former pastor of mine used to say. Doc Blevins, he said, how much darkness does it take to put out a light? Well, all the darkness in the world can't put out a light. How much light does it take to dispel the darkness? Well, one single flame can break the darkness in its presence, and call to someone from, across, because light travels. So whether it's, like you said, just being that light that, you don't have to tell them everything, you just have to be present. And each of us in our own way, you ladies, Janae and Naomee, you have a light that is a beacon for people who can relate to you, people who felt like you or who dream of being like you. And those lights, Jesus sets that light on fire, and we spread that light, and we break the darkness that could stop other people from, could hold them in. They're going to see what you have that God has given you. It's not of us, right? It's of the Lord, but they're going to see what you have that God has given you, as long as you keep letting him shine it. And I'm so excited for where you're going. And
can I ask Naomee a question?
Yes, totally.
Naomee, so what is the one message you want the people, your peers, to get from what you and your twin wrote?
That you don't have to follow everybody else. That you could step out and be the first person to do something.
Yes.
Did anybody question you, your peers, or so question what you guys were doing?
Of course. Like, you're crazy.
Of course. They said you were crazy.
Yes. Yeah, I just have to do something
So
different.
they said you were crazy.
Yes. It's not gonna work. Just gotta be different, not be the same as everybody else. So.
So when you see that people are the same as everyone else, as far as, I know you went to Broken Arrow School, but hey, there's social medias out there, and you guys are not blind of what's going on with the young people, like the peers your age, and a high pregnancy rate amongst the teen girls, and just the things that they do. Well, what message would you give them? Because you guys are not the normal, right? Like, you and your twin, like, that's, coming from the Midwest, and you guys are not, normal, because usually you're chasing all these guys, or somebody's getting pregnant, or just whatever. What would you say to those ladies, your peers, who just thinks that that's the way to go?
I would say to talk to someone, to be encouraged in your own self, build up your own self-worth, because once you do the work within yourself, then everything else will align. So that's what and also just pray, because if you pray, then everything else, it will just fall into place, and the decisions that you wanted to make, you're not going to be able to make anymore, because it'll feel weird. It'll feel different. So that's what I would say.
And do you have your LLC yet, business?
Yes.
Okay.
The LLC, Naomee?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
You guys have your LLC.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
awesome. I can't hear you. Cool.
I'm just cheering her on.
And so now, if someone, reads your story, when someone reads your story and they inspire to, hey, if these twins can do it, I can do it. What's the first advice you'll give them?
No excuses. No excuses.
Oh, I love it. No excuses. You can do it, huh?
Hmm.
You know what? I want to say this with Naomee, Christy, is that so for the book project, to be part of the anthology, um, it's a payment because we have to pay for editors. It's just a lot that you have to pay for the publishing. There's a lot that goes into it, and I gave them a considerable discount, the twins, and because I was like, they're twins, and so like I'm going to give you guys the discount. And I said, hey, and you guys could just make payments because they're teenagers. They're 17 years old. I was 17, and they're teenagers. So and like I said, I'll work with you because I think they came in on the tail end. And this is a remarkable. They came in like kind of like on the tail end of it, or maybe the middle, and we had already had people have already made payments and stuff. So I gave them like a payment date that they can put like the deposit or something like that. And it was a deposit. And then I gave her the scheduled dates of when to make her other payments. Mm-hmm. Well, I look at my PayPal. She didn't just pay the deposit. She paid the whole amount just to her and her twin. I was like, what? I said, Naomee, honey, I gave you guys, a set touch. I just wanted to get it our way, Miss Premadonna. I just wanted, I was just, oh my God. Like these twins mean business. I don't want an adult to tell me anything that you can't do it. Like these twins, they didn't have a whole lot of money, but they knew what they wanted. They knew that this is something they wanted to be part of. And she looked at it like, why make payments? I'm just going to pay it all in full. Yeah. So I don't know if I ever shared that with you, but I was just forever impressed. And when I hear other people who are trying to do an anthology with adults and they said, well, they were saying that's too high. And I tell them about their story. I said, now you tell me that's high. And they were 17. They're like, what? I said, yes, they put it all in one payment.
Mm-hmm. Well, Proverbs tells us that debt is slavery, and they're not going to be slaves.
Yeah.
Rock on.
Yeah. If anything that can get from these young people, the twins, is that they don't believe in debt. At 17 years old, they're saying, I don't believe in debt. So listen, I learned from them. Like I always say I remain a student in life. I don't care how many degrees I have, even if I get a PhD, I will remain a student in life because she taught me something like, okay, I really want something. Don't put it all in, go what you want. And you know what, matter of fact, you did encourage me about that because there was I needed a speaking coach because I have a radio show. And again, I believe in that motto, I stay a student. And she was advertising her being a speaking coach and what the program entailed and everything. Before she could finish, I had already signed up, put my payment in and everything. And I said, if anything, these twins taught me, you can't waste time. You don't have time to just sit there. You got to go after what you want and you can't hear all the other noise. So I can honestly say I learned that from the twins, that if you want something, you got to go after it. And you can't try to sit there and think twice about it. So kudos to them, I have to say that. Mm-hmm. And that's a great thing about this book. Even though these are teens and young adult writers, even me, now the age I am in my 40s, I learned from a 17-year-old. And even for a person their 30s and above, they can learn from any of these stories. Matter of fact, I had a woman in her 60s read a story last Atia when she talked about setting scoliosis straight. And she said, oh, I was really impressed with her story because I suffered from scoliosis. And here she's in her 60s. And that's a great part about this book is that you can learn from these girls. So Miss Janelle, what would you want girls to take away from your story? Are you there?
Yeah. I don't know. Mostly that they're not alone, that people go through similar situations to them and to find someone to confide in.
That's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
You said something in your story when someone asked you how you were feeling and I won't give the whole scene away, but at the end of it, you were just like, oh, I just determined never to show how I was feeling again so that people wouldn't ask me. And I thought, that's heartbreaking. And that's how so many of us lose people in our lives to suicide. And you've chosen to change that. You've chosen to do differently. And you're right. That is probably one of the two top lessons that I would broadcast from your story is reach out. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yay.
Well, Premadonna, did you have anything else you wanted to say before we go?
Well, I thank you for having these wonderful co-authors on. They're only going up. Are you going to continue to write, Miss Naomee? Do you think you and your twin will continue to write?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Yes, this is only the beginning.
This is the beginning. Yes, I encourage you guys to still write. And then as you are getting your business up, hey, I encourage you guys to write for peers who said, who doubted you guys, and that, hey, this is our playbook and you guys can learn just as we did, So, and Janae, I'm glad you continue to press on, even though it was hard. I'm glad you continue to press on because someone will read your story and say, wow, if she can do it, I can too. And, but I thank you. We're having the book launch on the 4th. And we're going to have our co-authors there. Will you be able to be there, Naomee? I know you said you was unsure.
I'll talk to you about it.
You still unsure?
I'll talk to you about it.
Okay, no problem. I know she has a lot going on. It's okay. But yeah, so it's going to be June 4th from 5:30 to 8:30. And we'd love to have you guys come. And thank you for, again, Christy, for having this interview with us. And we're just going to go up. We're just going to go up. Hey, I'll proclaim it. New York Times bestselling. Hey.
All right.
New York
Let's
Times,
bring it on.
You bestselling, all of you guys. So this is just going up. Yes.
Well, thank you. God bless you, ladies. And God bless you for listening. If you have a story that you want to share, reach out to me. Premadonna has already said she's about to do another book, and I'm actually have several books planned. So we want to hear the stories that you have to share because God reaches people through our unique voices. So I'm Christy Bridges from One Moment Wiser, and thank you so much for listening. God bless you. Bye-bye.